Write that down for me, Saito. Write that down for me, Saito. Write that down for me, Saito. Write that.
Okay, hey patrons, welcome back. It's Write That Down. I'm Justin Nipper of Fight Game Media and WrestlingObserver.com, and I'm here with the one, the only, Mr. Fumi Saito. Welcome back.
Hello from Tokyo.
So Olympics finally finished. It's Obon.
Yeah, it was the craziest thing.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, if we talked about this, if we ought to talk about this Tokyo Olympic, we can sit here all night long.
We could do a whole different episode
about
about
it. Yeah, because it's the craziest thing in the middle of COVID pandemic. It's the craziest idea. And I was against it, and I wanted to boycott it. And I even attended the protest to, our neighborhood had this big protest to stop the Olympics thing. And it was never reported on the news or anything like that. But yeah, this crazy idea to actually have Olympic in the middle of pandemic. It will be a major spreader. And sure enough, it's like the numbers going up again,
It's crazy. I heard over 4,000 on one day this week.
Every day. Yeah.
It wasn't even above a few hundred last year.
Right. Now
this
it's about
time in summer.
5,000 new cases a day, every day, just in Tokyo.
It's no good. No good.
Oh, God. And also, there are not enough bed, let alone enough doctor and hospital staff to take care of that. And then you get sick and call ambulance. The ambulance cannot take you to any hospital. It's like, no, not this hospital, not this place. Being on ambulance, you get sicker too. Oh my gosh.
So I'm happy that you told me you are vaccinated. So
yes,
healthy,
this week,
safe,
healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. I read that all of the New Japan office was fully vaccinated. They put out a press release saying that they are all vaccinated, and
they're so professional that they take temperature of every single spectators, and you have to put down your email address on back of your ticket and give it to the company.
Mm-hmm.
So anything happens that they get trace you down and where you are, what time, and all these things. Yes.
And actually, the night we're recording this, tomorrow night, New Japan is going to be in Los Angeles at the Torch.
Right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be on Fight TV. The English is going to be on Fight TV, but it'll be in Japanese on New Japan World. But yeah, it seems like a lot of people are excited about it. Lots of AEW Impact stars.
New Japan is finally forming an American branch.
Feels that way. Yeah, it feels more established. Yeah. New Japan of America.
Yeah, with their own crew and American wrestlers going back and forth, and also sending 1 or 2 Japanese wrestlers to the LA branch. And it looks like they have their little territory going in California right now.
Yeah, and the New Japan Strong Show, they have its own flavor. They have its own flavor. It's kind of like it's different from the general New Japan. New Japan at Korakuen Hall has a different flavor from the New Japan Strong Show on Fridays. It has its own style.
It's strong, and also the New Japan wrestlers of America. Trained by Shibata, and that's gonna be just a year or two from now. Now they probably have the whole the whole pack of group of American wrestlers who were trained on the New Japan method. Yeah, very, very, very interesting. And those wrestlers, much like NXT, are going to main roster. They will be sent to Japanese ring too.
Right.
New Japan raised rookies, American rookies, coming to Japan and working in the main roster. That's very exciting. Yeah,
I think so. Especially the recent crop of fellows, the Carl Fredericks and the Clark Connors. And
they're like a really good athlete. Just need experience. That's all. And also, they're not, like independent guy who wanted to go to WWE or AEW. It's like they were trained and debuted in New Japan environment, so they will be under New Japan, under New Japan Big Roof.
I gotta say, I got a chance.
Marquee, I should say.
Yeah, they feel like superstars for sure at such a young age already. And I gotta say, I got a chance 2 years ago to attend the Super J Cup that was in Tacoma, Washington. And
Okay, very good.
those guys were wrestling there too on the undercard, and I got a chance to meet and talk with them. And I have to say, compared, it's I don't usually experience this. Wrestlers are fine or whatever, but these guys particularly were extremely polite, almost like in the Japanese way, at least to me. And
Yeah.
I gotta say, I gotta always root for Alex Colon because actually we went to the same university in New York, SUNY New Paltz. Go Hawks! I think he played rugby there or
Yeah.
did something like that, but that's where I got my degree.
Uh,
Yeah, Go Hawks! But
yeah,
yeah,
because
they're good.
also
They're very good.
none of these American New Japan wrestlers are ex WWE or ex AWE guys, or not even have the independent experience outside of this New Japan environment. So it'll be
Right.
very, very interesting, like a very genuine New Japan guy.
hmm
Just happened to be American.
hmm
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the year and maybe next year. Hopefully, when things clear up, I want to see some of the New Japan of America guys over in Japan for some bigger matches with the other fellows who just kind of graduated, like Yota Tsuji, Yuya Uemura. Like they're kind of
Yeah.
all
Oh,
moving up
yeah,
to
right,
the
right.
regular
And
roster.
they will be wearing a different costume and a
That's
different hairdo, and you could become like the graduated into your star status. Yeah.
hmm Like Gray Okan or Master Wato recently.
Yeah, right. You come back as a different person
hmm
completely.
Shota
And
Umino will probably do that too.
Umino will be IWGP champion within 3 years or so, right?
Wow.
I'm hoping. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Oh, look what happened to Jay White. People did not expect that for him to grow up that fast.
That's true.
Yeah.
That seemed really kind of out of nowhere rush, but it's still the plan is in
Then
place.
there are guys like Dave Finley and Juice Robinson, who has different experience, and they're
Mhm.
veterans now. So, yeah.
And one good point for New Japan, it's great to have someone like Juice Robinson be on the American show and work for places like Impact because hey,
Sure.
it fits right in a different way. Although I got to give Juice Robinson credit, he has really changed his style up since he arrived. He does
Oh,
feel
yeah?
like he feels like he gets what's going on in the New Japan ring and that style, but he still stays. He doesn't just copy what they're doing. He's adapting and doing his own take on what they're doing.
American, and he's becoming his own. Yeah.
Yeah, but not in a forced or bad or cheesy way. In a natural way.
Because he has this star aura to begin with.
He's charismatic.
Yeah,
For
very
sure.
much so. Yeah, very much so. Okay, well, today we are doing Jumbo Tsuruta.
That's right. So this
Yeah.
is the next in our series showcases on legends from back in the day. And last time we focused on Genichiro Tenryu, and this time he's kind of a parallel character to Tenryu. He's he came from sumo, whereas Jumbo came from the amateur wrestling world.
Yes, that too. But let's start that. He went to Munich Olympic in 1972. Only having 2 years of experience in amateur wrestling. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Well, because he played basketball all through junior high and high school, and he did not. And he was the varsity team in Chuo University as a basketball player, and he realized when he was in senior year, like 1972 was his college senior year. He realized, he would not be able to go to Olympic if he played basketball, but he was a big guy, and he just kind of decided if he took on amateur wrestling, he might be able to go to Olympic when he's a senior in college, which exactly what he did. What a elite athlete, he did not start amateur wrestling until he was like 20.
So
did you know that? Yeah.
No, I mean, so what was the rest of the wrestling team? Were they a strong team in Japan?
Only one guy can go to Olympic in each weight division. He was heavyweight.
Okay, so
yeah, so he aimed it. He and then he succeeded. Yeah,
in a short time. So he's kind of special person. We can tell from the beginning.
Oh, special athlete. Yeah, special
Like
athlete.
a Kurt Angle-ish sort of. He can kind of do any sort of.
Okay, how many Japanese do you know who is 6 feet 6 inches and 260 pounds naturally? You know,
Not many. Not many.
not many. He's like a Bruiser Brody size. Yeah, and it's a big Japanese guy, right? And then he won all the domestic national tournament. He won in the national championship, and he was able to come to Olympic. I mean, like, as he planned all along. So he is very smart, individual. That his goal was to go to Olympic when he was senior in college. Then he aimed it. Then he switched his sport from basketball to amateur wrestling when he was rather older as an athlete, 19-year-old or 20 years old. Then only just after two years or so training, he beat everybody and then went to Olympic. Yeah.
He was did he feel like he had a challenge? Did he feel after the Olympics what happened after he came out of the Munich Olympics? Did he jump right into pro wrestling from there?
Yeah, I spoke with him back in 1984 when he traveled to Minnesota and he was touring as an AWA World Champion, right? We'll get to that. But he told me that he wanted to be a professional wrestler when he was 6th grade. He decided it.
Wow.
6th grade.
So
when I grow up, it's like when I grow up, I will become professional wrestler. All right, it's like that's what he did exactly. So he could plan out things and he conquered all the plans.
Yeah, he seemed like anything he seemed to focus on, he would be one of the best in, the elite in.
Super athlete he was. Yeah.
And like you said, he had a build that was very unlike most other people or other men in Japan.
Yeah, then during summer holiday, during the summer, not a vacation, but school's off, right? In June and July and August, he was sent to sumo bear when he was like 8th grade, and he didn't like it, because he was big guy, and then he grew up in Yamanashi, and his hometown, his house, his home was grape and pear farm. His parents was doing the vegetables and fruits, and I guess first goal was to get out of his hometown and come to big city and become college student. Yeah, and Chuo University is a very good school too. And he was a basketball player, standout basketball player. He was already 6 feet something, like 190 centimeters when he was like 17. And he grew even bigger, and he wanted to be a professional wrestler when he was 6th grade. Then he wanted to become, to go into Olympic, and he switched his sport after he going to college. Then in 2 years' time, he was able to go to Munich Olympic. He didn't win the gold medal or anything like that, but he was able to become Olympian. So he set his goal and he just gets it.
So he comes back from Germany.
Yeah.
And what's his next move from there? Like,
actually, there was a big battle between New Japan, Antonio Inoki, and Giant Baba's Old Japan. Both company wanted a Jumbo. Tomomi Tsuruta. Okay. Yeah, and New Japan Inoki almost got him, but the Giant Baba, went to his Tomomi Tsuruta's parents' house. Giant Baba himself, went to visit him. I want his, your son to come to my company, and then apparently Inoki people didn't do so, and Giant Baba himself went to Jumbo's hometown and met with his parents and how serious about his plan and all these things. And Mr. and Mrs. Tsuruta, I guess, trusted Baba, and right out of college, he went into All Japan Pro Wrestling, 1972. At the end of 1972. Yeah.
So that sounds sort of like what happens in the States and in North America when a university goes to scout and recruit an athlete for their school.
Yeah, and then normally if you were a baseball player or football player, he would be drafted, huh?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, but
Do
for
you think he
professional,
could? Oh, I'm sorry. Did you think he
yeah.
could be? Is Jumbo the type of person who would have been a star athlete in any of the sports he chose?
Ooh, but the not exactly baseball player type or football player type. There's no American Football League. I mean, not we
Right,
have it,
right.
but they're not strong. But baseball, you start. I mean, basically, all these baseball players in Japan, they all start in a little league or something, and then they will be playing baseball all their lives, right?
Yeah.
Same as soccer player, football player. I mean, soccer player, and Jumbo's different. He was a big, tall guy, super athlete, playing basketball, and got the basketball scholarship and went to college and he switched his sport to amateur wrestling just so he could go to Olympic, which that's exactly what he did. And he wanted to become professional wrestler, so he became professional wrestler. So it's like he never did wrong, Yeah.
Hmm. And when he started to train for pro wrestling, did he spend much time in the United States?
Yeah. Um, it was one of these methods that he was trained a little bit in Japanese All Japan dojo, but he was sent to Amarillo, Texas pretty much right away before his debut in Japan. Much, just the same method that Baba took on Tenru, after sumo wrestling.
Mhm.
He trained, a few months in Japan, but he was sent to Amarillo, Texas, right? The same way. Jumbo did that first. I'd say spring, yeah, spring of 1973, he was sent to Amarillo, Texas to train under Terry Funk and Dory Funk Sr. And we covered that a little bit, with Tenru's episode, but the
Mhm.
young Stan Hansen and young Bob Backlund was there when he
Hmm.
went to Amarillo, Texas. So all of them became like the biggest star of their own era, right?
In their own ways too, in different
Yeah,
ways.
a different way. Yeah, right. Stan Hansen and Bob Backlund went to New York and became WWF champion. Jumbo went, came back to Japan, and pretty much from the day one, he was in the main event group.
Mhm.
Never worked opening match. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you
He
would think in Japan you would start your wrestlers or anybody in the professional world that you would start from the bottom, like a Japanese, like a very Japanese, like your hierarchy kind of thing. But he was treated as elite. That he was put in the main event status right away. His first rookie year. Yeah, he spent about 8 months in Amarillo, Texas. He already challenged Dory Funk Jr., NWA World Heavyweight Champion at the time. He already challenged the heavyweight title in his rookie year, you know. So it was like, oh my gosh, right? And then the first tour back, I believe it was October of 1973. His main event, very first main event was Giant Baba, Tomomi Tsuruta, not even Jumbo yet. But the following tour, he took on the name Jumbo Tsuruta. Giant Baba and Jumbo Tsuruta, the matches, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Uh, Jumbo Tsuruta and Giant Baba challenged Dory and Terry's international tag team titles, October of 73. So he came back as golden rookie and already challenged the top tag team titles. Yeah. In his rookie year, I should add.
So he was looked at as almost, an equal or almost number two to Giant Baba.
Yeah, it was some to do with the timing too, because in 1972, Giant Baba left old JWA, that the original Rikidozan's Nippon Pro Wrestling,
Mhm.
and um, Giant Baba started his first company, which is the only company, but All Japan Pro Wrestling, and he took Tsuruta as his very first golden rookie. And he Giant Baba did not want his new company to look like the old company. He
Right.
left the company and he left a lot of guys. And then when Baba started All Japan in 1972, they only had maybe 5 Japanese wrestlers. Yeah, altogether. And then you already had the Funks, the Dick Baya Destroyer, the Abdullah the Butcher, the sometimes Bruno Sammartino, all these name American talent, rotate come in. So they had enough guys, but they needed golden rookie and who is fresh and new that people haven't seen. So yeah, the Jumbo Tsuruta was perfect, just wrestler for the spot, and he's talented enough. It's a more of the beginning was kind of a mixed bag kind of feeling, because how could this rookie guy be main eventing in Japanese mentality, right?
Mm.
But he was on television right away, and Baba put him in the main event cluster right away, and then. But he was talented enough to do so, and he was on television every week by the end of 1973, established.
Mm. And he probably had some credibility from the Olympics too.
Yeah. What's funny though, that didn't make him very popular wrestler. Because it at the time it looks like he was somebody who was handed everything on silver platter. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So does that mean that he had some kind of some fans didn't like him so much?
He wasn't popular, I mean, as much as you would think. In the back of their mind, is this guy's a rookie. Or was talented, all right, but this guy's a rookie and being on TV every week, and Giant Baba and Jumbo Tsuruta, it's all designed to be top, right? And yeah, he was talented enough, but somewhat older fans somewhat resented, the fact that this guy's a rookie. He should be in an opening match. I mean, there's some mentalities there, right? You would understand how Japanese would think.
It seems like some people want to challenge Jumbo, say, hey, do you really deserve your spot in the hierarchy?
Yeah, right.
Because you just came out of nowhere.
And but the kinda, yeah. But the Olympic, the former Olympian helped, of course. But is he as good as any other so-called superstars at the time? And he had to, I guess, keep proving that, And starting in 1974, so he was very much that in the main event right away. See, in his rookie year and second year, he had challenged Dory Funk Jr. for NWA heavyweight title, right? World heavyweight title. He challenged Jack Briscoe for the. Then he had challenged Terry Funk. Following year, another NWA champion, and challenged Harley Race the following year. So he had challenged every single NWA World Heavyweight Champions in Japan. That will put you in like a very convincing main event spot, don't you think?
Do you find that Jumbo, compared with other Japanese pro wrestlers at the time, was maybe to fans more believable as against foreign wrestlers because of his size and maybe his credentials?
What was so strange almost, in hindsight, was that he was already good worker. You know what I'm saying? I mean, nothing rookiness. I mean, when he came back after 8 months experience in Amarillo, Texas, he worked like a veteran already. He
worked like an American wrestler, sort of.
Yeah, he worked exactly like Dory Funk and Terry Funk. That's what I'm saying. He came back with 4 different suplexes, double underhook suplex, the belly to belly front suplex, we have it, and the side suplex, and very high bridging German suplex. 4 suplex, perfect. And this everything he did was so perfect. That's that was exactly what made him not very popular. You know what I'm saying?
He's too perfect,
I guess. Yeah. That was a real long battle that he had to face, because he was already so good and far ahead of everybody else that technically he was already one of the top in Japan, and that doesn't necessarily make you a popular person. How's that? Yeah, that was very strange, because he was not all that popular in his 5 year, very first 5 years of his career. He was already good though. He was really, really good. The roster they had, look at this 70s All Japan roster that Baba on top, right? And then clear number 2 right away, Jumbo. Then all the name American talent that come to All Japan, that the tour after tour after tour, and he had this pretty even up matchup with all these superstars from America, you know. And then like I was like, you know, I was a little kid, you know, still, you know, might be in 7th grade, 8th grade or something, and just watch All Japan Pro Wrestling every Saturday night. Jumbo is kind of a new character in that show, but this guy comes onto TV and does have like perfect match in my eye, you know. And yeah, but didn't make me a big Jumbo fan either, you know. It just was strange, you know, when you look back. Yeah, because Inoki's Friday night television was always like Inoki theater, right? Inoki bringing some, you know, famous American wrestler superstars, then Inoki beat him, you know. And all year long, the Giant Baba's All Japan Pro Wrestling, you had Abdul the Butcher all year long, pretty much. You know, something to do with Abdul the Butcher against Destroyer, Abdul the Butcher against Baba, Abdul the Butcher against who and so, a tag team or something bloody is all year long anyway. That Inoki's television always had Tiger Jeet Singh, the same role, that he's a heel, the biggest heel. But yeah, it felt like I was watching Inoki against Tiger Jeet Singh in some form all year long, you know. And Jumbo didn't really fit into this, you know, bloody battle thing. When you think about it, it's really strange. The TV code was different back in 70s, you know. In primetime television on network channel, they were showing something really bloody. They don't do that now, do they?
Even today, by today's standards, I think some of the Sheik and the Funks and Abdullah, those matches are
very bloody style.
That's right.
At the time, yeah. We talked about Jumbo Tsuruta, but yes, Atsushi Onita was Jumbo, Giant Baba's pretty much not the number one boy, but he was like Baba treated Onita like his son, you know. But he was never a heavyweight superstar. Little bit later on, like in 81, 82, Baba ended up giving Onita their World Junior Heavyweight title and all those things. But Jumbo was treated differently because of size and genuine athletic background, college graduate. Whereas Onita started, you know, and he came to Baba's company when he was age of 15, you know, barely finished 9th grade. And this is two completely different backgrounds.
Kind of like a polar opposites, very opposite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. They were friends though. They were really friends. Yeah, they were friends. But Baba, Onita was somebody who was carrying Baba's back, washing Baba's back in the shower and all these things. That Jumbo never carried anybody's bag or anybody's suitcase or anything like that. He was his own star from the day one.
He skipped the line.
Yeah, but it was not Jumbo's choice.
Correct.
Yeah, Jumbo's choosing. It was Giant Baba's, you know, method of making somebody a star, like a different method. See, it's hard to compare, but the only person I can come up with was like somebody who was main event from the rookie year, like somebody like Lex Luger.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, you know, Goldberg or something.
Yeah.
It's and different still.
Clumsy, you know. Lex Luger wasn't, you know, all that, you know, smooth, you know, worker until he worked program with Ric Flair a little bit later on. But he was put in the main event position from the day one. That's what I'm saying. And the Jumbo was the same way. He was main eventing his rookie year, and he was already a good worker. And like I said, in his rookie year, second year, third year, he had challenged every single NWA World Heavyweight Champion at the time. Like I said, Dory Funk Jr., the Jack Briscoe, the Hardy Race, the Terry Funk. He had challenged every single NWA World Champion all the way to like Ric Flair era. Yeah. Then finally, he had beaten Nick Bockwinkel in 1984 to become very first Japanese AWA World Heavyweight Champion. He's the only AWA champion. Baba didn't even touch it. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. So
yeah. Well, at the time that the story was, Giant Baba was the only Japanese wrestler who had ever held NWA World Heavyweight Championship. Okay.
Mhm.
And Jumbo was the only AWA World Champion, the Japanese wrestler. And he actually toured America with that belt. Yeah. That's when I met him, a few times. He used to come to the Japanese restaurant. I was washing dishes. My youth, when I was in college, of course, you wash dishes, right?
Mm.
And I was washing dishes at a Japanese restaurant called Asuka, just like a
Asuka.
WWE Asuka. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, the Asuka is like a flying bird, right? So
Hmm.
it's a kind of generic name. But the restaurant Asuka in downtown Minneapolis, right in front of First Avenue, Princess First Avenue. Yeah.
You did in Japan. It's called arubaito.
Arubaito. Yeah.
That's from German, actually. That's from the German word Arbeit, that work.
For work. Yeah. Yeah. That's the Japanglish. I mean, that the German word that was adapted into Japanese word. Yeah. Arubaito sounds like more like a part-time job for, high school student or college students.
Yeah. Convenience store or restaurant or something that,
or carry heavy loads, some stuff, or
sure.
Yeah, or get on the truck and carry something, or delivery or something. Yeah. So I was watching.
I think quite a few wrestlers did that in Japan too before they were pro wrestlers. Like Kota Ibushi comes to mind. I think he was like a trash man or something.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, you gotta find the time to train, and you leave yourself free, some time to actually connect it with wrestling people, and then you should not be having a full-time job then. And you know what I'm saying? Kind of like being a band.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you got to keep your day job. I was going to college and I was washing dishes at a Japanese restaurant, and that Asuka restaurant, Jumbo used to come in like a couple times a day, a couple times a week, maybe even more, So I was, every time he shows up, I'm gonna pull, stool and then sit right next to him. Kind of rude, but can I talk to you? And then I was able to talk to him for hours and hours.
So what was he like?
Oh, very professional. Yeah, very professional and very independent, very private. But he was spent enough time that I was able to speak to him, like how he wanted to become a professional wrestler. He told me back in 6th grade he already decided that that he would become professional wrestler, and how he wanted to go to Olympic in his senior year in college, and basketball wouldn't do it, so he switched his sport to wrestling, and just over 2 years of training he was able to win the national tournament, and sure enough he went to Olympic. Wow, success. And he had no doubt in his mind that Giant Baba in All Japan was his right choice. Yeah.
So
maybe he was one of the very first rookie that Inoki and Baba fought over.
Must be.
Yeah, there was a Riki Choshu. No, Riki Choshu.
Or Choshu, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because he was also he went to Olympic 1972, same Olympic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but for Korea.
Yeah, for Korea, because he was born and raised in Japan, but his family always kept the Korean passport. Therefore, he was able to represent South Korea as an Olympic team. But he told me he was bullied, and during by the Korean wrestling team because he couldn't speak the language perfectly.
I see.
Yeah, and also the reverse racism almost, like a bully. It's like, well, you're not even Korean, In Japan, he was said, you're not even Japanese. This is very
silly,
historical that we should talk about this, discrimination kind of thing, another topic. But Riki Choshu, yes, represented South Korea, then went to Munich Olympics. Same Olympic Jumbo was in. They fought over Riki Choshu too, yeah. Mitsuo Yoshida, yeah.
So one question I wanted to ask for you, wasn't it true that when Jumbo was working in the States early on, they didn't call him Jumbo yet, they called him Tommy.
Yeah, Tomomi Tsuruta, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or just for like the American style, Tommy Tsuruta.
Yeah, in Amarillo, Texas, because he didn't have the name Jumbo yet. The name Jumbo name was given to him after he came back. Giant Baba and Jumbo Tsuruta. Two big guys.
So he had the AWA title in '84, but he lost it. He would lose it to it was Rick Martel, yeah.
Rick Martel, yeah. By then I was in ringside photographer, yeah.
Rick Martel would go over to All Japan around then too, I believe.
Yeah. And there was a famous, you can call it unification title match. Ric Flair, NWA champion against AWA World champion Rick Martel. They had that in the Sumo Palace. Was that a 86, 87? I have to look back. But yeah, there was a AWA champion against NWA champion match. Yes.
And after the big title run with the AWA title, I do recall him and Yoshiaki Yatsu becoming a strong team as well.
Yes, after Riki Choshu and his guys went back to New Japan in '87, Yoshiaki Yatsu decided not to go back to Inoki's New Japan and stayed with Baba's company and became Olympians, because Yatsu went to '76 Montreal Olympic. So 2 Olympians became babyface tag team. Yeah. Olympians. Yeah. But that's a little bit later phase though, because Jumbo's, we can distinguish his career in 2 different sets of era. That during '70s, Jumbo would be wearing a ring costume much like your Terry Funk, blue, red, then stars, red ring boots or blue ring boots or yellow ring boots, and multicolor short trunks, red and blue stars on it. Is like a real young babyface look.
Even the hairstyle was different. It was more
little
like
longer, yeah, right, and permed, yeah. In '81, when Baba pretty much stepped down from the main event position and made Jumbo his main guy, that's when he started wearing black trunks and black shoes. Yeah, so it's 2 different distinguished era. Yeah. And that's when he started using Rulet's backdrop, the belly to back suplex thing as a finish. And that the storyline was made that the Rules came in and taught him how to do the backdrop suplex. And that's when he started using that as his new finish. Up until then, he was using different suplex, Yeah.
Didn't he start using the Thez press as a finish later on too?
Not Thez press, but the backdrop,
Just the backdrop. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, he did have that Thez press. You're talking about Thez press, like you get the whole body. Yeah, like a Stone Cold Steve Austin did. Yeah, he used that too. Yes, but he was using it in early years too. Yeah, we call it flying body scissors drop.
Flying body scissors drop. See, that's so many of the
Japanglish.
Well, in English, sometimes the names are different, or sometimes they're inherited from Japan. Like in English, it's funny, we say hip attack.
Hip attack. Yeah, right. Flying hip attack.
But a lot of people in English don't understand why they say hip. But the word for hip it's kind of different in Japanese. It's like that hip area, the whole ass, hip, thigh. It's more general. So
yeah. Well, some people were translating as a butt bumps too, right? So
but I think butt bump in English is quite accurate. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Asuka likes to use that these days.
And who does that? Asuka. Yeah, Asuka does that. Does that. Yeah. In Japan, it's pretty much Shiro Koshinaka's move. Yeah. His famous he was using a jumping knee attack. How's that? High knee?
Yes.
Yeah, jumping knee attack. That's English, but very much Japanese. Japanese. Yeah. Jumping knee attack, right? Yeah, he was using that. Yeah. He was like already, according to Bruiser Brody, the exact quote from him that Jumbo was so far ahead of everybody. As a matter of fact, Jumbo Tsuruta was Bruiser Brody's favorite opponent in Japan over Inoki or anybody else. Did you know that?
I didn't know that he was his favorite, although I did know that I think Jumbo is maybe one of the only wrestlers to pin Bruiser Brody.
At the end of the very last tour before his death, yes, that actually Jumbo and Brody had more single match against each other than anybody else with one another. That Jumbo was always Brody's favorite, like a challenger, while Brody had this international singles heavyweight title. Remember, like real early '80 part before AWA run.
Mhm.
Yeah. International heavyweight title was actually the Ricky Dawson's heavyweight title when he brought supposedly Ricky Dawson beat Ruthes in Los Angeles in 1958. He brought the heavyweight title back as an international heavyweight title. Ricky Dawson held that title until his death. Then later on, Baba revived that title with All Japan Pro Wrestling. Oh, during 60s, that international heavyweight title was the Giant Baba's signature heavyweight championship before All Japan PWF run. Then he left the title when he left the company, and somebody like Kintaro Oki or a couple other guys held it. But I believe it was like 81, 82, that Baba decided to revive the heavyweight title and gave it to Dory Funk. And Dory Funk Jr. and Bruiser Brody had long program, and eventually Brody beat Dory Funk Jr. to become pretty much signature international heavyweight champion for like 3-year period. Then there was real long program, Jumbo against Brody over this international heavyweight title. Eventually, Jumbo beat Brody. It was a DQ finish, not quite 1-3, but that Jumbo beat Brody for the title, and he held that international heavyweight title for a long time.
And in Japan, that's right. In Japan, the DQ finish, the title can still change hands.
PWF rules.
PWF rules.
Yeah. And another interesting PWF rule is that that the counting right out, outside the ring is 10 in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Japan it's traditionally 20. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
But PWF rule, it's 10. Therefore, they use that method to beat somebody important. Fighting outside the ring and can't come back within the count of 10, and the referee Joe Higuchi will do a very, very iffy count, and whomever gets in the ring, just nick of time, beat him. You know what I'm saying? The very like late 70s into early 80s type of finish when you don't want to hurt beat somebody 1-2-3.
Many double count out finishes.
Double count out, double DQ, or no contest. All those things were still happening until late 80s that all the finish became pretty clean. Remember?
I remember most of Choshu's matches were great, and then they would finish on the floor.
At the end, yeah, I was so sick of it as a kid. And you would know that the two superstars, face each other. It's going to be DQ. It's going to be double count out. You kind of knew that as a kid. And you learn about the world. You can't really, have clear winner. Then they come back with same lineup, same title match with same guys, and you do it again. And I guess you really learned about the world by wrestling. You know what I'm saying?
So
yeah. But Jumbo was that. So before international heavyweight title, there was UN, United National Heavyweight title. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
He had that run. It's interesting. It's kind of interesting that the Giant Baba's All Japan had more than one singles heavyweight title. They never tell you which one's above another. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Kind of ambiguous.
Ambiguous, right? Because you have to guess PWF, right? Pacific Wrestling Federation title. That is not a world heavyweight title recognized by PWF, but you have United National Heavyweight title, and you have International Heavyweight title. It's like, which one sounds better, right?
They kind of sound the same almost.
Yeah, they're all important. And when you have 3 singles title, I guess all 3 of them become not so important too. It's really interesting.
But all 3 together would become pretty important.
That doesn't happen until 1990. Stan Hansen having PWF and UN title going against Jumbo Tsuruta's international heavyweight title. They fought over these 3 belts, and Jumbo unified all 3 belts and triple crown. Therefore, triple crown from that point on. They're the same title that the today's All Japan Pro Wrestling have. although physical championship belt ain't the same. They were using those 3 old belts up until a couple years ago, but I guess they had to return to Mrs. Baba's home.
Well, at the AWA World show a month or two ago, they actually brought out
the physical belt back.
Yep.
Like a old antique. Yes.
Yeah, they used it like a
I
gimmick
wish,
for the main
Jake
event.
Lee would wear that belt. To give him like a really historical rub.
I would
come
love
on.
that, but I guess it's up to the Baba family, isn't it?
Right, and I guess they borrowed that belt for the night, huh?
Yeah, rental.
Then they went back to the new design belt,
Yes.
And sometimes it's the design of the championship belt is very important, don't you think?
I think so. And how it
Yeah.
looks on around the waist or on the shoulder of someone.
Yeah, the physical same international tag team belt and PWF tag team belt, they still use that belt. The ones that the Suwama and Ishikawa or Aoyagi and the Miyahara has, those tag team belts, those were the same physical belt Jan Baba and Anthony Inoki together were wearing way back 50 years ago. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Right?
They
Yeah.
look like a
Those
real
things
belt for your pants.
Yeah, it's like a touch the game ball, right? It's like when I was a kid, that the champion walks by, you try to touch the guy's back or
Yeah.
touch the belt or something. Yeah, I touched it.
Mhm.
I did that as a kid.
Oh,
And,
one thing I
that's-
wanted to ask you about before, because we were talking about the Triple Crown, but before that, we mentioned that Brody died, and I wanted to just confirm: wasn't there a plan to have Bruiser, Brody, and Jumbo as a tag team
Yeah,
before?
that year. Yeah, Baba planned on 1988 Rio Tag Team Championship in this, ended November into December tag team tournament. The plan was Jumbo and Bruiser Brody as a team. That's big. Another
Imagine
team was
that.
Tenru and Stan together.
Yeah, it's like the mirror opposites of each other.
Yeah,
sun,
right. But the
moon.
Stan and Tenru team happened the following year, though.
Right, and that
Yeah.
continued.
Yeah. But that would turn Bruiser Brody much awaited babyface turn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He was ready for it too.
Yeah, and people were ready for it.
Mm.
And Stan would only work heel, but people react to him like babyface. That's really interesting, See, Stan never changed it. He always worked heel side and worked like heel. But for some reason, at the end of the night, he was the most popular one at the building. It just happens naturally. The way he works, or like convincingly beats somebody clean 1, 2, 3 with lariat, never disappoint anybody. Then you go, yes, and then people, all the Japanese audience go, yes, with him. Yeah.
He was very unpredictable in a fun way. You couldn't predict what his next move would be.
Yeah, and then also Stan Hansen at the time, he got pinned, probably once or twice a year, by somebody important, like sometimes Baba, sometimes Jumbo, and sometimes Tenru. But what he does is, what Stan does, 1, 2, 3, you get pinned, right? But not quite big move, 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. But most of the time it's either backslide or a small package inside cradle or something like a ebigatame kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Shrimp hold.
Yeah, shrimp hold. Yeah, ebigatame. That's a translation. Just as soon as the referee hit the 3 count, 1, 2, 3, Stan gets up and start beating everybody.
Mm-hmm. 3.1.
I guess. So the match is over. Stan got pinned. But he gets up so mad that they start running all the young wrestlers out of the ring and start beating everybody. And then he runs out of the ring and walk into the crowd. And people kind of forget what just happened.
They forget he lost.
Yeah. It was like that.
And he keeps his momentum.
I guess so. Yeah. The record shows that, yes, Stan was pinned and the title changed hand and stuff like that. But Stan is just as strong the night after that,
Mm.
Yeah.
And
that was Stan's way.
Jumbo and Stan had a kind of, I don't know about a rivalry, but I do remember that you told me a story. I think this is when we did our shows on Stan Hansen, and the two ran into each other at a Japanese bar.
Restaurant after the show, like in local town.
Mhm.
And like you're looking for a place to eat real late at night after the show.
Mhm.
And you find this, Chinese restaurant, like middle of nowhere, and that open until the morning or something. Then he walked in, and Jumbo was already eating. Then stand, and they didn't sit together. They waved at each other, smiled, and sat in different table. And somebody gets, somebody whomever finished the dinner first gets up. You pay at the cashier, right? And then look at each other and waved again. That was enough, he said.
Hmm.
And the friendship and camaraderie and trust are there,
But it's very
old fashioned.
Old fashioned, yeah.
And also Jumbo being very private too,
Right.
Not too many people knew his condition, medical condition. Yeah. Well, we should go into that sometimes. I mean, not sometimes, but the very next, that the part 2 of Jumbo episode, we should talk about his, because actually after his health decline, that's when he became really popular. Isn't that ironic?
Mm-hmm. And he really helped create the next generation. He's a very important part.
Yeah, because even in wrestling, you gotta be beat. You get beat in the middle of the ring, not just leaving. When you change the somebody, main event status to somebody and create new star for the company, you wouldn't just walk away. You just have to do the match and get pinned in the middle of the ring and establish that. And then people know something has just changed. Yeah, clearly.
And he, there's a lot more to talk about because he did kind of become, the Jumbo in 1990 was a lot different than Tomomi Tsuruta in the early 70s.
Oh, right. Not rookie anymore. He's 10, 15 years older. And I just realized he was born in 1951. So he would have been 7 years old now.
Wow.
I mean, if he is still with us, yes. But
that's quite young.
He died when he was like 48, 49. Yeah. Only 1 year after Baba's passing, which was another symbolic thing that Japanese wrestling lost both Jumbo, Giant Baba and Jumbo in the 2 consecutive years. That made Misawa's crew even stronger, though, on hindsight.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think this is just in the character, not in real life, but Jumbo felt more like the bully in All Japan later on before he wrapped
he
it
was
up.
so much bigger than any of them, compared to your next main event guys, Misawa, Toshiaki Kawada, Kenta Kobashi, Akira Taue. Taue is pretty tall, and Jun Akiyama, right? Probably. None of them, they were all shorter than Jumbo. Jumbo was the tallest, older, 10 years older than any of them, but he was much taller, much heavier, and just such a veteran and a great worker.
He was built the same kind of way Bruiser Brody was.
Same
Japanese, height. Japanese mirror kind of version, just in terms of body and body size.
Yeah, not exactly bodybuilder type, but just big guy.
The thick football player type.
Yeah.
That's wrestler body.
In Japan, it's not WWE ring. You don't have to look like bodybuilders. Giant Baba never looked bodybuilders, and Jumbo was the same way. And Tenru, former sumo wrestler, you wouldn't look like bodybuilders.
No way.
On the other hand, Inoki built a little bit more like not a bodybuilder, but more athletic,
He was more like an
Sakaguchi.
action star, Bruce Lee.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Sakaguchi, Tatsumi Fujinami, Riki Choshu, Kengo Kimura. Yeah, all like a similar, physique. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think New Japan has always been a little more focused on the look and the aesthetic. Yeah, even up to like Tanahashi. He's a great example of this version.
Guy. Yeah.
Or Ibushi. They have a look that's a lot different than say Suwama Shuji Ishikawa. But both have
right.
They both have a big appeal.
Yeah. It's okay though. You don't have to be good looking. This is not a handsome contest,
No.
Yeah, so the professional wrestler can have certain professional wrestler look, Hardy Race was called handsome Hardy Race because he wasn't handsome.
Or the recent the beautiful Bobby.
Beautiful Bobby, yeah, that kind of thing.
Passed away, unfortunately.
Right. So they always had this kind of wrestling lingo to it, Yeah. And Jumbo was start from the beginning, and he was already one of the greatest, best worker in second year in. He was having equal match against real superstars at the time, like people like Dory Funk, Terry Funk, Jack Briscoe, Hardy Race, or even they brought in a real veteran like Fritz von Erich and had him beat him. And he had a single match against then 49-year-old Vern Gagne. He had a
Billy
2 out of
Robinson
3 fall match. Billy Robinson. He beat Billy Robinson. Yeah.
Right.
For the title. Yeah. Oh, every single American name wrestlers. Yeah. Jumbo pretty much faced all the single superstars from America, the ones that already had single match against Giant Baba in previous era. It was fed to Jumbo in that era. Yeah.
He seems like he could be one of the best wrestlers of that era, Japanese wrestlers.
He already was.
But who could, particularly who could work with a foreign talent in a way that there was no styles clash. It was actually kind of
no style clash. He works
very
like
smooth
because he patterned his style after Terry Funk. And you watch 70s old tape of Jumbo. Yes, he does work like Terry Funk. I didn't know that. I didn't have the good eyes for that. I mean, when I was a kid. Now, if you want to watch the old 70s, old tape from that era, you can clearly see the Jumbo was like Terry Funk, in the ring.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very similar, very similar. And he could have a very convincing, very even matchup with people like Mil Mascaras too.
He was good with smaller wrestlers.
And also Mil Mascaras being famous for being very difficult to work with, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But he had this very, famous single match, and he actually beat Mil Mascaras with the count out outside the ring, no pinning, but still beat Mil Mascaras in 1976. Very impressive, right?
Yeah. So he was just the. I mean, would you say he was as popular at a point as Baba?
Well, actually, Inoki? He was never popular as Baba or Inoki. That's the point I'm trying to cross. That in his real peak years, when he was really one of the best in the whole world, the best worker, an all-around good wrestler, and he can have today's the 5-star matches or so, that he wasn't all that popular. He was maybe too perfect. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that really came out late in the late 80s, 90s when
when the health was declining and he was hitting 40 years old, and younger guys coming up like Misawa, Kawada, and all these guys are coming up, and that's when he became really, really popular. It's like, you know what? I've been watching Jumbo for 20 years and I love this guy, kind of thing.
Right.
Guys. Well, because wrestling fans are almost opportunists, that you decide who you like. Because when John Cena was really, really good, he wasn't even all that popular. Now he's super popular. You know what I'm saying?
And he barely wrestles.
Right. But he comes off like superstar. I mean, bigger star than the current guys.
What's the old phrase? Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
I guess. Yeah. And
so.
Also, he was away too. When he first he got sick in 1991, I believe, 92, that he was gone for 6 months period, and he was never the same. He could only have tag team match situation where he tags out and take breaks. He never had much of single match program after that. But whenever he came back, it was so much welcomeness. Just, I mean, it's good to see him back, kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think once Misawa beat him in 90, and I think when all the younger guys started to establish themselves, I don't think he could really keep up at that pace. They changed the style
and
of
also
it.
They never had single match, and Kawada never beat him, Kobashi never beat him, Taue never beat him. So his position was locked, but he was never full-time again after 92. So,
and he was also Misawa's tag team partner early on when he was Tiger Mask.
Right. When they first established PWF tag team title, Stan and Ted DiBiase against people like Jumbo and Tiger Mask, which Tiger Mask was Misawa, yes.
Okay.
We could start from around that period of time for the part 2 of our Jumbo episode.
Yeah, because the next part I think it's different. I think we need to cover more detail. It wasn't as long of a time, but it was when All Japan really shifted the generation from
And then also Tenru and his guys left. 10 guys left All Japan.
All Japan really changed around this time. This was
and
the biggest
also
change
Giant
before
Bob.
Noah.
Yeah, and also that the American influence has changed. That the NWA Crockett promotion was bought, by Turner TV, and it became WCW. There was no more NWA establishment, and Baba cut the tie with NWA, and all the titles up until that point, sanctioned by PWF and recognized by NWA. Tag team title, the international heavyweight title, the Asian tag team title, the UN title. Up until then, they were saying sanctioned by PWF and also recognized by NWA. Then they stopped saying NWA completely. Yeah, so pretty much cut the tie. American establishment.
And there was that, and I believe he also had a kind of tough relationship with Mrs. Baba.
Jumbo?
Yeah, kind of complicated.
I think Jumbo still, I have to point that out, that Jumbo was the one who had very good relationship with Mrs. Baba. Mrs. Baba was the one who was really, really careful with Jumbo from the day one. Yeah.
So we're going to tackle all of that in the next and final part of Jumbo's showcase, because
because I want today's fan to really think Jumbo was very, very important historical figure in Japanese wrestling history.
And I think the style that he was a part of and doing, it's kind of, I don't know if it's misunderstood or maybe it's just time has passed, but the style, it's not a flashy style. It's something that he's, I think the reincarnation of him now is Suwama. That's
very similar.
That's the only person I can think of, but yeah.
Yeah, but the Suwama does not have or hasn't had any program with big Americans.
No.
Just what's his name? Doring. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a different time. Yeah.
That time. Yeah. So it wasn't exactly Bruiser, Brody or Stan Hansen or all the big guys, big guns from States. Yeah. But the big guns from States at the time was all locked in with this WCW or WWE, all the big guns are already under contracts with WWE, and you need to develop your own American talent in Japan kind of thing.
So yeah, let's dive into that next time. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so before we wrap, I want to just let everybody know, thanks for all the comments, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them on the
I would
Patreon
like to
page.
answer that. Yes.
Yeah, and if you want to reach out to Fumi online, how can people reach you?
On Twitter, Fumihiko Dayo, Fumihiko Dayo, Fumihiko Dayo on Twitter, or just Fumi Saito on Facebook.
And be sure to send a message before you friend him on Facebook.
At
Justin M. Nipper, KNIPPER on Twitter. And so next time we'll be back with the next part of Jumbo Showcase
and final episode of Jumbo. Yes.
Yeah, and I think if you're listening now and you're an All Japan fan, I think this is going to be one of the key episodes to really understand.
Yeah, you have better understanding of the whole big picture thing.
Really high point in the 90s, and if Jumbo wasn't there, I don't think it would have been the same, because I think he gave Misawa that momentum to really push forward and become they eventually had a Tokyo Dome show, but we'll talk about that next time. Okay.
All right. So long from Tokyo.
All right.